the United States and China. Two superpowers locked in a high stakes battle for economic dominance, technological superiority, and geopolitical influence. The conflict isn't just about tariffs or market access, it's a tug of war shaping the very foundations of global order. Today, we break down the key fronts of this rivalry: the enduring trade war, the looming tensions over Taiwan, and the race for supremacy in advanced technology. What does the future hold for US China relations? To understand where we are today, let's rewind a little. The US China trade war officially kicked off in 2018 when then President Donald Trump imposed sweeping tariffs on Chinese goods, aiming to curb what he called unfair trade practices. China retaliated with counter tariffs, and what followed was a tit for tat battle that shook global markets. Fast forward to today, and the trade war is far from over. Recently, China imposed new tariffs worth $14 billion on US imports, its strongest retaliatory measure in years. Meanwhile, the US continues to block Chinese companies from accessing critical technologies, including semiconductor chips. This means companies like Huawei and SMIC are struggling to maintain a foothold in cutting-edge industries. But why does this matter? Because trade isn't just about goods crossing borders, it's about power. By limiting China's access to technology, the US is slowing Beijing's ambitions to dominate industries of the future. And in return, China is taking steps to weaponize its own markets. It has launched antitrust investigations against US tech giants like Google, Apple, Microsoft, and Nvidia, signaling a readiness to hit back where it hurts. The big question is, can this trade war ever end? Some experts believe that the two economies are so interdependent that a full-scale decoupling is nearly impossible. Others argue that the growing hostility will eventually force both sides into separate economic blocs, one led by the US, the other by China. Either way, businesses and consumers across the world will feel the ripple effects. If trade is one battlefield, Taiwan is the ticking time bomb. The small island nation, just 100 miles off China's coast, is seen by Beijing as a breakaway province that must eventually be reunified with the mainland. But for the US and its allies, Taiwan represents something much bigger, a symbol of democratic resistance against Chinese expansionism. In recent months, tensions have escalated to dangerous levels. China has been conducting aggressive military drills around Taiwan, simulating a full-scale invasion scenario. The latest war games even featured a Chinese naval destroyer equipped with AI-controlled drones, a chilling demonstration of how warfare is evolving. Meanwhile, Washington is doubling down on its commitment to defend Taiwan. The Biden administration has approved new arms sales to Taipei, including high-tech missile systems and advanced drones. US lawmakers continue to visit Taiwan, much to Beijing's fury, while military alliances in the Indo-Pacific, like AUKUS and the Quad, are stepping up coordination to deter Chinese aggression. The stakes are incredibly high. If China ever moves to invade Taiwan, the US could be forced to intervene, triggering a conflict that could spiral into World War III. But does Beijing really want war? Many analysts believe China is playing a long game, escalating tensions just enough to intimidate Taiwan, but stopping short of actual invasion, knowing that war would devastate its economy. Yet, even short of war, the Taiwan issue is reshaping global supply chains. Taiwan produces over 60% of the world's semiconductors, the tiny chips that power everything from smartphones to fighter jets. If a crisis erupts, the global tech industry would face a catastrophic disruption, setting back technological progress by years. Technology is the third and perhaps the most decisive front in this US-China rivalry. The two superpowers are locked in a battle for dominance in semiconductors, artificial intelligence, and 5G networks, industries that will define the 21st century. Let's start with semiconductors. For years, China has depended on American and Taiwanese technology to produce high-end chips. But with Washington restricting China's access to advanced semiconductor equipment, Beijing is scrambling to develop its own domestic chip industry. The Chinese government has poured billions of dollars into companies like SMIC and Yangtze Memory Technologies, but it's still far behind US leaders like Intel and Nvidia. Then there's AI. Artificial intelligence is the new arms race, with both countries investing heavily in AI-powered warfare, surveillance, and automation. China has an edge in AI-driven facial recognition and digital governance, while the US leads in foundational AI research. However, the recent push to regulate AI development, both in the US and globally, could slow down innovation and shift the balance of power. And let's not forget 5G and telecommunications. The US has banned Huawei from its 5G networks, citing national security risks. But China is now rolling out 6G trials, aiming to leapfrog ahead. Whoever controls the next generation of wireless networks will dictate the future of global connectivity, from smart cities to military communications. This technological Cold War isn't just about competition, it's about control. The US and China are increasingly pressuring smaller nations to pick a side, whether in trade agreements, infrastructure deals, or cybersecurity policies. This global tech divide is likely to widen in the coming years, creating two separate digital ecosystems, one led by Silicon Valley, the other by Beijing. So, what happens next? Will the US and China find a way to coexist peacefully, or are we heading toward an unavoidable showdown? The reality is, it's complicated. The two economies are too intertwined for a complete break, but too competitive to remain friendly. Some experts predict a cold peace, a tense but stable coexistence, where both sides push their own agendas while avoiding outright war. Others warn of a bifurcated world, where trade, technology, and even the internet are split between US led and China led spheres of influence. We're already seeing China deepen ties with Russia, while the US strengthens its Indo Pacific alliances. Diplomatic talks between Washington and Beijing continue, but trust is at an all time low. Cyber warfare, economic sanctions, and military posturing will likely define this new era of geopolitics. One thing is clear, the US China rivalry isn't just about two countries, it's about the future of global power. And the choices they make today will shape economies, industries, and political landscapes for decades to come. Will the US and China find a way to cooperate, or are we on the brink of a new Cold War? Share your thoughts in the comments.